Tacitus going to the front. Tacitus strikes to the lead. Tacitus to win the Tampa Bay Derby.
Here comes Improbable to join the leaders. Improbable well on his way to remain undefeated.
Improbable is ready to roll if he's good enough, and here he comes. And Improbable slingshots to the front. Long Range Toddy is running a very big one in the center of the track. Long Range Toddy trying to gun him down. Improbable, here's Long Range Toddy.
They run to the top of the stretch. Omaha Beach is in front. He has a 2-length lead on Game Winner, who has to go right now. Game Winner trying to gun him down on the money, and Rosario says it's game time. Game Winner, Omaha Beach right together.
For those who thought that the first division of the Rebel Stakes was a thriller, well, the second division of this race was even better than that, even better, like the Heisman Trophy. You know, a lot of Heisman Trophy winners flop, and this was a case in point in which you had a couple of Heisman and Outland Trophy winners and MVPs that, you know, they were better than the hype in this race. Of course, obviously, a lot of the lion's share going to Game Winner, but this was a thrilling stretch run. Omaha Beach, of course, was able to win it by a very, very scant nostril in a time of 142.42 for the mile and a 16th. But let's break this race down until we and psychoanalyze and break apart that final time and how this all sort of, you know, unfolded. Omaha Beach, in the description, he broke well. He stalked the front runner, which was Market King, who ended up finishing third here for Wayne Lukas. Led at the 3/4 pole on a pace in which the first quarter was 23.54. 47.29 for the half, racehorse time, and then 111.82 for the 3/4. Again, a pattern that has continued to resurface in these races at the 3/4 pole, where things slow down and the horses that have done well in the preps suddenly are making the move at this juncture of the race, which is translated into, has been tantamount to these horses finishing 1, 2, 3 in the preps. This is when both Game Winner and Omaha Beach made their moves right at the 111.82 mark at the 3/4. And again, Omaha Beach at the 3/4 made his move and just smoothly smooth as silk, to kind of mirror the description that the race callers used to make of Nijinsky back when he swept the English Triple Crown in 1970. That's what you saw with Omaha Beach, just as smooth as silk, didn't drift at all, very professional. Accelerated nicely, opened up two lengths on Game Winner, which ultimately made the difference. He rebroke upon seeing the 2-year-old champion come on his flank, and then he was able to prevail. Game Winner, as I said before, very, very smartly, he was very smartly ridden, mid-pack, made a bid at the quarter pole once he made his move at the 3/4. It had to be hard ridden, though. This is a nugget of information, a nuance that I think a lot of you will find interesting. And then he just missed at the wire. In this race, he accelerated better than I think in any of his previous 4 starts, and ironically, he lost. As it sort of reminds you of Gary Stevens, how he felt when Silver Charm ran better in the Belmont than he did in the Derby and Preakness, and then Touch Gold jumped up and ran that monster race that he did. So it was kind of sort of that kind of scenario for those, whether you're a fan of Game Winner or not. It's very, very interesting. He ran better here, and for a seasonal debut to run this well, again, obviously, there's always concern there could be a regression from something like this, but this probably really helped him move forward. Same could be said for Omaha Beach. He took a big, big step forward, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But I think that, you know, for those who want to, you know, levy more criticism on the 2-year-old champion, son of Candy Ride, out of an AP Indy mare, I think this was a very, very good setup. Again, as I've said before, with 2 starts, there's not a lot of wiggle room. Things have to go pretty much perfectly, and this was close to perfect. You know, it had been different, as I said in the Division 1 podcast, if he had finished 5th and showed no punch, and then the excuse would be, well, he still needed the race. You never want to finish 5th, no matter how long the layoff is. So he ran very, very well. And let's look at the order of finish. Omaha Beach wins it by a nose over Game Winner, who was 8 1/4 lengths in front of Market King. These 2 horses were just separated themselves from everyone else. So Market King was third, 8 1/4 lengths back from Game Winner. Market King was a length in front of Gunmetal Gray, who disappointed in here. It's apparent that even with the pace setup being, a little better than the Bob Lewis, he's just not fast enough right now. But again, there's that one opportunity, a mile and a 16th. He's probably been crying to get a little bit more distance. But the question is going to be, as Matt Bernier mentioned, is he gives you all he's got. Don't know how good it is. It certainly wasn't good here. He's going to have to improve no matter what horses decide to go forward or go backwards in whatever prep Jerry Hollendorfer chooses for him to try to make it to the Kentucky Derby. He finished fourth. Jersey Agenda of Asmussen's barn finished fifth, along with another Asmussen trainee, Captain Von Trapp, in sixth. Laughing Fox disappointed. As I said, he had won twice at the Rebel distance, but obviously the class upgrade was a bit of a problem for him, and he finished seventh. Parsimony was eighth. Kazaranga, another horse out of Asmussen's barn, who's on almost the same bloodline cross as Game Winner, by Candy Ride out of an AP Indy mare, seems to be the slower version of that pedigree cross. He finished ninth, and our Brain Trust adds to Mark Cassie's struggles, finishing 10th after a third place finish at a mile and an eighth in the Withers at Aqueduct. So this has obviously got Mark Cassie, losing what little hair he has left on his head as to the failures of his Derby candidates. But again, there's one more chance. But it's very interesting in here. I think Game Winner made a great account of himself in defeat. Omaha Beach certainly has proven himself to be, for the time being, to be a contender. We'll see if he can stretch out. He looked really fluid in this race, though. He's an effortless mover. He's got a lovely stride and a way of moving, and which goes to my point about Game Winner. Game Winner is a little bit more of a grinder. Reminds me of Real Quiet, but is he going to end up being like West Coast, one of those horses that trended upward as a 2-year-old, then he goes backwards, and he, along with Improbable, along with other horses, get swallowed up in the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown races. I think there's a scant chance there's always a chance that could happen. Something tells me it won't, but there are some things about him that, as I said before, cause for concern. Being hard ridden, maybe that's him. As Mike Smith once said, if you guys remember a few years back, Drosselmeyer won the Belmont Stakes for Mike Smith, and then he would go on in his handicap career to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, but Mike Smith always said that he was a difficult horse to ride. And I think Johnny Velasquez can relate to that in the way that he's had to do extra work with overtime with Vino Rosso. So there are horses like that it takes a minute to get into them because maybe they don't feel like running that day, or it's like, really, guys, I really don't want to do this for a living, but as I said before, I have a nice stall, and there are certain amenities and benefits to being a racehorse. But so sometimes you wonder if that's what's going on, but that's probably Game Winner. That's him. Or we may see an improvement where you don't see the rider like the caliber of Joel Rosario scrubbing on his horse as hard as he was from the three-quarter pole to the wire, versus Mike Smith sitting still as a statue on Omaha Beach. It almost made you wonder if there was a rider actually on top of that horse. That's how still he was, and how smooth Omaha Beach was traveling. So that's one of those things. Is Game Winner one of those horses that really has to work extra hard to start to really get his engines and get the cylinders to turn over? Or is he a horse that we're going to see some really, really fluid acceleration, and he's going to separate himself from the horses that ultimately can't go a distance of ground? That's what's going to be the question on all these horses. And something tells me he's the type of horse, he may not win all the classics, he may only win one, he might not win any of them, but he feels like one of those point given type. Not saying he's as good as point given, but he feels like one of those horses that is sturdy enough to get through the Triple Crown the way that Justified did. I think he's pretty sound and solid. Knock on wood, hopefully nothing goes wrong, but he just seems like a really, really solid horse. The question is going to be if he can yield his superiority, if he ends up being a 2-year-old champion that's not as good at 3, or if he's going to really, really be one of the primetime players in this Triple Crown. And again, the same can be said for Omaha Beach, who ran very, very well in here. But again, Omaha Beach wins a thrilling run, a thrilling edition of the second division of the Rebel Stakes in tandem with Game Winner in what was a spine-tingling stretch drive, winning it by a nose in 142.42 for Hall of Fame trainer Richard Mandella.
Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel.
They run to the top of the stretch. Omaha Beach is in front. He has a 2-length lead on Game Winner, who has to go right now. Omaha Beach past mid-stretch. Now a length and a half. Game Winner trying to gun him down on the money, and Rosario says it's game time. Here's Game Time outside Omaha Beach. Game Winner, Omaha Beach, right together in Omaha Beach. I think he turned him away. These two were far in front. Omaha Beach inside, Game Winner outside, right together.